Most people lose arguments the moment they open their mouth. The moment you start explaining yourself, you give away your power. Just imagine it. Someone throws an accusation at you. Maybe it's a small jab at a dinner party. Someone questions your ability during a meeting. Or a partner twists your words. You feel the heat rising in your chest. Your body reacts instantly. Your stress hormones spike. Your mind starts shouting that you are being misunderstood. You feel like the truth is being twisted. And your instinct tells you that you must fix it right away. So you start talking. You explain yourself. You justify your actions. You try to give more background. But in that exact moment, you have already made a mistake. You have exposed your weakness. Because the world doesn't judge you by how true your words are. People judge you by how desperate you sound while saying them. The one who explains too much looks like the one who is surrendering. The one who defends themselves looks like the one who accepts that the other person has the power to judge them. Niccolò Machiavelli, who deeply understood power and human behavior, knew a harsh truth that modern society tries to ignore. He knew that power is not about being right. Power is about who controls the situation. And the moment you start defending yourself, you step into the other person's situation. Their frame. The moment you defend yourself, you walk into their courtroom. As the defendant. But what if you refuse to play that role? What if, when someone attacks you, you do the one thing that scares manipulators the most? Most people move through life like emotional puppets. Their emotions are controlled by other people's reactions. Someone frowns at them, and they quickly apologize. Someone accuses them, and they rush to explain. They live their lives constantly trying to prove that they are good, smart, or worthy. And honestly, that's a miserable way to live. It slowly suffocates your spirit. But there is another way to live. A way of moving through the world where you are calm, independent, and mentally untouchable. In this state, insults don't even bounce off you. They disappear before they can even reach you. This isn't about being cold. And it's not about being arrogant. It's about changing where your sense of reality and confidence comes from. Today, we are going to break down the psychology of not defending yourself. We'll look at why your biology pushes you to react this way, and how you can override that instinct with a strategy that Machiavelli himself might have quietly shared with a prince. I'm going to show you how to flip the power dynamic instantly. How to make the attacker start doubting themselves. And how to use silence, not just as quietness, but as a powerful weapon against someone's ego. But be warned. To do this, you must kill a part of yourself that you have been feeding since childhood. The part of you that desperately wants to be understood. The part of you that looks for approval. If you can remove that need, you become powerful. You become untouchable. Let's start with a simple question. Why do you do it? Why is your first reaction to defend yourself when someone challenges you? The answer usually begins in childhood. Think back for a moment. When you were a small child, maybe 5 years old, and a parent or teacher accused you of something, what was the only way to avoid punishment? You had to explain. I didn't break it. It fell. I didn't hit him. He hit me first. You learned that adults had the power to judge you. And you also learned that your safety depended on convincing them that you were innocent. The problem is that you grew up. But your mind never fully changed that pattern. Now you walk through the world seeing authority figures everywhere. Your boss. Your partner. A stranger online. Even your enemies. Whenever you defend yourself to someone, you are secretly saying something inside your mind. You are saying, you are the judge. I am the child. Please accept my explanation so I can feel safe again. And that energy smells like weakness. Human beings are very primal. We can sense submission from far away. Machiavelli once wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved. In modern social life, we can translate that idea differently. It is safer to be respected than to be understood. When you rush to explain yourself, you are choosing understanding over respect. You are saying, "Please understand me. Please see my intentions." But think about this. A king does not explain his decisions to a peasant. A lion does not explain its hunt to a gazelle. The moment you start talking too much, giving long explanations, showing messages, bringing up past events, you are revealing something important. You are showing that your emotional stability depends on whether the other person agrees with you. You have basically given them the key to your house. And once someone has that key, they can walk in and destroy things whenever they want. This is the trap of what we can call the validation mindset. You believe that if you explain clearly enough, the other person will suddenly say, "Oh, I understand now. You were right. I was wrong." But think honestly. How often does that actually happen? Almost never. Because most accusations are not really about the facts. They are about control. People don't accuse you because they want the truth. They accuse you to see how you react. They want to see if you will jump. And most people do jump. The first step to becoming untouchable is realizing something important. There is no courtroom. There is no judge. There is no jury. There is only you and how you see reality. When you stop treating people like judges, their accusations stop sounding like verdicts. They start sounding like simple opinions. And opinions are just noise. So what happens when you don't react? Picture this situation. Someone throws a sharp comment at you. You're being incredibly selfish right now. The old version of you might say, "No, I'm not. Yesterday I did this and that for you. I'm just tired." That response sounds defensive. Weak. Reactive. Now imagine a different response, the Machiavellian approach. They say, "You're being incredibly selfish right now." You simply look at them. You maintain eye contact. You don't blink. Your face stays calm and neutral. Then you stay silent. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. What happens during that silence? It creates a psychological vacuum. People feel uncomfortable with silence during conflict. It breaks the normal social pattern. It signals that you are not playing the usual emotional game. When you stay silent, you reflect their energy back to them. You make them sit inside the tension they created. And very often, they start to crumble. They will speak again just to fill the silence. They might say something like, "I mean, you're not always selfish, just right now." Or they might ask nervously, "Why are you looking at me like that?" Suddenly, they start defending themselves. And just like that, the power has flipped. This is similar to the gray rock technique, but taken to a much stronger level. You become like a void. And a void cannot be attacked. You cannot punch mist. You cannot cut water. When you refuse to resist with a defense, their attack simply passes through you and destabilizes them instead. But this takes serious self-control. Inside your mind, your ego will be screaming. Say something. Fight back. Be clever. You must control that impulse. Machiavelli understood that the most powerful person in the room is the one who cannot be easily read. When you defend yourself, you reveal your insecurities. You reveal what hurts you. You reveal your emotional buttons. For example, you shout, "I'm not stupid." Now people know that intelligence is your insecurity. You shout, "I'm not a bad person." Now people know that your moral image is your weak point. But silence reveals nothing. Silence is a dark mirror. When people look into it, they only see themselves. When people look into it, they only see their own aggression reflected back at them. And that makes them uncomfortable. It even makes them feel judged, even though you never said a single word. Of course, sometimes silence alone is not enough. Sometimes you must speak. But when you speak, your words should never sound defensive. Instead of pushing against the accusation, you pull it toward you. You use something like conversational Aikido. In dark psychology, there is a technique called agree and amplify. This technique creates confusion in the attacker's mind. If someone accuses you of something ridiculous, defending yourself actually makes the accusation seem serious. It suggests the claim deserves a full response. Instead, you lean into it. You exaggerate it until it becomes absurd. For example, someone says, "You're obsessed with money. You're greedy." A defensive person might reply, "No, I'm not greedy. I just want to support my family." That response is predictable and weak. But the Machiavellian response is different. You might say, "You caught me. Every Tuesday I swim in a giant vault full of gold coins like Scrooge McDuck. Honestly, it's terrible for my back." You say this calmly, maybe with a small smile. What did you just do? You refuse to be offended. You showed that the accusation doesn't bother you. You turned their serious attack into a joke. And you showed that you control the situation. You control the frame. This removes the attacker's weapon. They wanted to hurt you. Instead, you took their knife and started using it to peel an apple. This attitude is called amused mastery. And amused mastery is a sign of very high social status. It's like a parent watching a small child throw a tantrum. The parent doesn't get angry. The parent doesn't argue. The parent is simply amused because they know they are safe. But when you defend yourself, you are doing something very different. You are dropping down to the floor and screaming with the toddler. Don't do that. Stand up. Look down. Smile. Robert Greene talks about Law 25 in the 48 Laws of Power, recreate yourself. Part of recreating yourself is refusing the identity other people try to give you. When someone labels you, they are trying to put you inside a box. If you fight the box, you are still dealing with the box. But if you laugh at the box, it disappears. Someone might say, "You're arrogant." You reply calmly, "I prefer the term charmingly confident, but sure." They say, "You only care about yourself." You answer, "I'm working on it. I'll add you to the list of people I care about next year." It sounds sharp. It sounds dismissive. But strangely, it is also very attractive. Why? Because it shows that you are complete. You don't need their approval to know who you are. A generous person laughs when someone calls them stingy. A smart person laughs when someone calls them stupid. But if you rush to defend yourself, it often means something deeper is happening inside you. It means a small part of you fears they might actually be right. And that is the inner work you must face. Now let's go deeper and look at the philosophy behind these interactions. But here's the trick most people never notice. Every argument secretly has two roles. Every conversation has a hidden structure. There is always an invisible pattern underneath. In most conflicts, there are two roles, a judge and a defendant. The judge asks questions. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? Who do you think you are? The defendant answers. I did it because I was thinking that. The one asking the questions usually holds the power. The one answering them slowly loses status. One of the most powerful Machiavellian strategies is simple. Refuse to be the defendant. Instead, take the role of the judge. You can do this by answering a question with another question, or by analyzing their behavior instead of defending your own. For example, they say, "Why are you always late?" A defensive answer sounds like this. "There was traffic, and my alarm didn't go off." That response loses power. But the Machiavellian response sounds different. You calmly ask, "Why does my arrival time affect your mood so much?" Suddenly, the conversation shifts. Now the topic is not the time on the clock. Now the topic is their emotional reaction. The spotlight is back on them. They might respond, "You're being ridiculous." You calmly ask, "Why do you feel the need to use labels like that to explain your point?" Now you are analyzing them in real time. This is extremely frustrating for a manipulator. They want you to feel pressured and defensive. Instead, you are calmly observing them, like a scientist studying something inside a glass jar. You might say things like, "That's interesting that you see it that way. Does saying that make you feel better? You seem very invested in this." These phrases act like shields. You hear their words, but you don't accept their meaning. You create a boundary. It's like saying, "Those emotions belong to you, not to me." And this approach is more than just a communication trick. It is also a mindset. It's the understanding that other people's opinions about you are not your responsibility. Their anger is their problem. Their disappointment is theirs to deal with. But when you defend yourself, you are trying to carry their emotional baggage for them. You are trying to fix their feelings. Stop doing that. Let them carry their own weight. Now here comes an interesting paradox. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to agree with them. But not in the way people expect. This is not weak agreement. It's a calm, fearless agreement. Imagine someone yelling at you. They list all your flaws. They want to start a fight. You look at them calmly and say, "You're right." And then you stop talking. "You're right. Sometimes I am difficult. You're right. I did mess that up." This technique is called fogging. Imagine throwing a rock into a thick fog. What happens? Nothing. No sound. No bounce. The rock simply disappears. When you agree with an attacker, you remove their momentum. They were pushing against a door, expecting it to be locked. But when the door suddenly opens, they fall forward. They wanted resistance. Because resistance makes their anger feel justified. But agreement removes their power. However, there is an important detail. You only agree with the truth in their statement. You do not accept the shame they are trying to attach to it. There is a big difference between admitting a mistake and accepting an attack on your character. For example, someone says, "You messed up this report. You're incompetent." A defensive reply sounds like this. "I'm not incompetent. The data was wrong." But a powerful reply sounds like this. "You're right. The report has errors. I'll fix it." Notice what you didn't respond to. You ignored the word incompetent. You addressed the mistake, but not the insult. You took responsibility for the action, not for the label. This shows strong confidence. Secure people can easily admit mistakes. Insecure people fight desperately to prove they never make any. A confident person simply says, "Oops. My mistake," and moves on. Machiavelli would describe this as disarming the enemy. If you put down your sword, the other person looks foolish standing there ready to fight. Their anger loses its energy. They start looking unstable, while you look calm and grounded. And in the long run, calm people are the ones history remembers. But none of this works if it's just a trick. If you say these words but your voice shakes, your eyes move nervously, or your energy screams, "Please like me," the strategy will fail. Psychological power is only partly about words. Maybe 20%. The other 80% is your presence and confidence. You must build inner strength that supports your silence. And this brings us back to your inner shadow. Why do certain insults hurt so much? Because they touch wounds that already exist inside you. If I told you that your skin is green, you wouldn't feel offended. You would think I'm crazy. You wouldn't defend yourself. You would laugh. But if I call you a failure, and you immediately defend yourself, it means a small part of you fears it might be true. The strongest defense is not a clever sentence. It is self-awareness. It is facing your own flaws and accepting them. When you accept your shadow, no one can use it against you. If you know you can sometimes be selfish and someone calls you selfish, you simply say, sometimes, yes. If you know you can sometimes be cruel and someone calls you cruel, you say, I can be. You cannot shame someone who has already accepted themselves. You cannot expose someone who has nothing left to hide. That is what it means to be untouchable. It means you have already integrated the parts of yourself that others try to attack. You become transparent. Light passes through you. Arrows pass through you. You are no longer a fortress that needs defending. You become the wind. Now here is the challenge. For the next 7 days, try an experiment. Call it the no defense game. For 7 days, you are not allowed to explain yourself. No matter how small the accusation is. If you arrive late, simply say, I'm late. Do not explain why. If you spill coffee, say, I spilled the coffee. Do not blame the cup. If someone misunderstands you, let them misunderstand you. Sit with the discomfort. Feel the urge inside you that wants to explain everything. Feel the desire to fix their opinion and prove that you are the good person. And let that urge burn away. Then watch what happens. Watch how people react when you stop playing the game. First you will see confusion. Then you will see respect. And eventually, a strange kind of attraction. Because people are naturally drawn to certainty. And nothing shows certainty more than someone who does not feel the need to explain their existence. You are taking back your energy. You are closing the leaks in your spirit. You are stepping out of the role of the child and into the role of the sovereign. The world will try to pull you back. It will try to provoke you. Because the world loves reactions. Don't give it one. Keep your mystery. Keep your power. Keep your silence. And if this philosophy speaks to the deeper, darker part of your mind, the part that is tired of performing for everyone, then you already know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. Not because I asked you to. But because you are done living like prey in a world full of predators. And if this message made you think differently, leave a like. It tells me you're one of the few who understand.